Two Weens walk into a bar. They say to the bartender, "Hey, got any grapes?" They said, "No, we only serve beer. And it's past 2 a.m, so final cutoff's already passed." And they waddled away, waddle, till the very next day.
I protest because the bar should have grapes in the form of wine, but I guess not. Yeah, London, show the folks at home what you're drinking.
Minska, mishka.
Yes.
Throwback to last episode, which you all watched about Robert Altman.
Yes.
Popeye energy drink. Pretty good, actually.
I should send you the real thumbnail to that episode, because I thought I sent the real one. I forgot Tim Robbins. I had him hanging in the film news. I was like looking at it on YouTube. I'm like, why does it look so empty in the center? That layer is missing.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah. Anyway.
No one will notice.
No. The 3 people who have watched it will not complain.
True.
Well, maybe Pierre will. Pierre send any questions?
Oh, don't worry. He's sending questions for that. End of the video.
Oh, it's at the end now?
Yeah, we did last time. I'm changing it. End of the video.
Okay.
Pierre has to watch. Or skip ahead.
Yeah. So, welcome everyone. Today we are covering 6 films from director Mira.
No.
Mira.
Good job.
Nair.
Nair, yeah.
Yes.
Rhymes with liar, yeah.
Yeah.
We just spent 5 minutes trying to figure out the pronunciation, because I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's Mira, but I'm like, is it Nair? Is it Nair? Is it Nair? But we found a video of her saying it, so hopefully it's right, and hopefully that video wasn't doctored by the evil government.
Yeah, it's probably a deep fake.
Deep fake.
But yeah, the films that we watched for this were... I don't know the order in which they came out, but...
Don't worry, I do, because on the official Screen Weens list on Letterboxd, they're in order.
Good.
Starting off with Salaam Bombay, which is the last one I watched. Mississippi Masala, Monsoon Wedding, Hysterical Blindness, The Namesake, and then Queen of Katwe.
Yes.
So we'll be talking about that shortly. I looked a little bit about her. I don't know a ton. I was just reading. I think she was born in England. Let me pull it up.
She was born in India, from what I saw.
And then moved to...
And lived in... I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. I am so sorry. But, what is it?
Rourkela.
Okay.
Orissa, India.
Oh, I was talking about Bhubaneswar, I think. I don't... where she grew up.
Bhubaneswar?
Bhubaneswar?
Probably closer.
Probably. I'm so sorry. We probably should have...
Oh yeah, then she went to a Catholic school when she turned 18.
Well, it seems a little late, but okay.
She went to it was like a convent? And then she went to like a missionary? Yeah, a Catholic missionary school. Okay. And then she went to Delhi University. And then she was going to go to Cambridge. She got a full scholarship. But then apparently she went to Harvard instead.
Well.
So, big swings.
Yeah. No kidding.
I did read that before she got into directing, she wanted to be like an actress. She wanted to like perform. She did a bunch of like plays and stuff before getting into directing. And she had filmed like a bunch of documentary like shorts, looks like, before kind of starting making like feature films.
Makes sense.
And yeah, she's still around. She's still making stuff. She made something a couple years ago. It was like a mini series.
Okay.
I was reading some stuff about that. I was reading about her son, who is running for mayor of New York City.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, good luck to him.
He's some sort of statesman in New York right now. The very based family. I was reading about all of his policies. And I'm like, these are all good things.
Okay.
And she's pretty cool. From what from the films, what I was getting, I was like, yeah, I vibe with this. I vibe with this messaging, even when it's really sad.
Yeah.
Like, the last movie I just watched was Salaam Bombay, and I'm like, is it about to end right here? And then it ends right there, and I went, okay.
Yeah, that one doesn't have the happiest of endings, but
it's funny because that's one of those movies that like grips defeat from the jaws of victory. Like, it feels like, oh, it could get better, and it's like, no.
Yeah. Truly a tragedy. But
London is sniffly today.
That's
just
true.
as a heads up. Sorry.
They can deal. But, yeah. So, watch any movies in the last month?
In the last month?
Probably a lot, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was the holiday season, so I was with Hinatea's family. I was reading a lot. I read Ring, which is what we read for, or what we're reading for Read Weens. Mm-hmm. I was really trying to catch up with reading. I think in general this year, I didn't watch enough last year for me. Like, I like watching a movie a day. It helps me to kind of decompress. I did not get to do that. I still watch like more than 300 movies, but
yeah,
I want to watch a little more this year. I want to write a little more this year, and I want to read much more this year. Because last year I read 80 books, but probably 60 of those were comics.
Oh, yeah.
And 15 of them were Animorphs books.
Yeah.
So 5 of them were like
truly,
adult books.
Yes, truly some high-class literature there.
So my goal is to read 120 books this year, and at least 40 of those be books for, grown-ups.
Okay. That sounds fair. I always try to set the bar real low, and then I always end up coming like just under it. I'm like, fuck. So
I'm really going to try to push myself, because I'm just like, I spend so much time on my phone, whether that's just watching YouTube or like when I watch a movie, I think I'm actively watching it. But every time I watch YouTube or I watch like TikTok or something like that, I don't really feel like I'm watching it. I feel like it's just kind of there to keep me engaged, but I don't really feel like I'm getting anything out of it.
Yeah.
So maybe just watch more movies, read more books, exercise a little more. I'm just going to try to make this the comeback year for London.
I feel that. That's kind of where I had been the last couple years. I know I've been on my famous Thomas doesn't like movies anymore arc, but
it's coming back a little bit.
It's coming back a little bit, and I did like start a new job and move out and a whole bunch of stuff, so it was like kind of like reprioritizing things in my life a bit, because it definitely got to a point where like doing the movies was fun for the show, and still is, obviously. But as a whole, it was just like, I don't know. I felt like, I also was just padding my time with like a bunch of frivolous fluff content.
Yeah.
Even stuff that didn't have as much substance as I would have liked, or even the substantive stuff kind of started to feel like rinse and repeat after a little while. And it's like, have I done it? Have I just hit all the like content? Not really, but you can kind of feel like you hit that ceiling sometimes. And then later down the line, you'll hit a different or you'll like break through that ceiling and it'll be like, whoa!
Yeah.
But hopefully, I don't know. Maybe we're getting older. Maybe that'll start happening less. Who knows?
But I did watch a decent chunk of movies. Last year, I got really into Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
And I ended the year off with a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Nice.
I think the last one I watched was Replicant, which was awesome. I loved it. He played a serial killer, and he also played the dual role of a genetic clone they made off of spare hair they found of his. So they were trying to get the clone to like relive his memories and try to find him. It's like, we gotta get in the mind of a killer. It was very silly, but it was awesome.
Interesting.
Very strange.
Sounds like a pretty fun concept.
That director, Ringo Lam, he did 3 movies with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and they're all pretty strange, but I like them all.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm up to... I looked at my Letterboxd, like, stats for the year, and it was like, my most watched actors were... I think it was Harold Lloyd with, like, 8... It might have been someone like Jason Statham, and then Jean-Claude Van Damme was like, I watched like 17 movies of it.
Oh, wow. I mean, I feel that. Sometimes you just get on that actor grind. I know.
And I'm getting more into like that kind of 80s, early 90s action stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Jason Statham.
Nice. Yeah. You know what I don't like about Letterboxd? I tried, because I got a new phone and I didn't transfer my Letterboxd. And I was trying to like log stuff I had watched since then. And they were like, nah, you can't log anything past the new year. Or like, I tried changing the date and it's all great and blocked. It's, no, you can't do that. And I wonder if it had something to do with like their stats or something, but I think that's dumb. I'm not a fan of that.
I don't.
Because now I can't log.
Really? Because I could last year.
I know. It was weird. Like, yeah, try to go to like December 31st. And it's just like, weird. But
I'll call him.
How else are my Letterboxd followers supposed to know that the last movie I watched of 2024 was Temple of Doom? I mean,
that's a good movie.
It honestly is kind of.
It's like my least favorite and my most favorite at the same time.
I know exactly what you mean.
It's like the scene I'll go, oh my god, this is amazing, and the next scene I'll go, what's
I've been a certified Temple of Doom hater for a while, but rewatching it, I was like, this is like One Piece. This is just like literally the One Piece.
I love the minecart scene. It's one of my favorite action like pieces in that franchise.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot I respect about the movie. Honestly, I've got two big gripes with it. The scenes that feel racist, clearly, and obviously...
I'm eating monkey brain!
And as a whole, like, I get the white savior argument. I'll give the indie the pass. Because I like conceptually what Indiana Jones is. And I like that at the end, you know, he doesn't do this standard, I guess, like, colonizer kind of thing where he's like, it belongs in a museum! You know, he does make that decision. It's like, alright. Spoiler alert for people who haven't seen Temple of Doom, sorry.
I don't even think that the lead actress is that annoying. I know that was like a big thing. She's more annoying than the other leads, but...
I think she's pretty annoying, but I think it was... Well, I think it was like an intentional...
Yeah.
Joke that they were trying that I don't think landed and just kind of ends up being more grating than it needs to be, but I don't think it's like... gonna make me not want to watch the movie in the future, even though that was my perception of it, because I hadn't seen it since I was a kid. But yeah, I love Short Round. Short Round is cool.
He has a new movie coming out in like a month.
Short Round?
Yeah. Ke Huy Quan. This guy from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he won an Oscar for that. That was his big thing.
I haven't seen it still.
Yeah, so he was like in a couple stuff. That's the guy. He did like a bunch of... there's like behind the scenes footage of like X-Men 1. He like did like action choreography for it and stuff. So he's like been around, but he stopped getting jobs for a really long time. Because he's like, I was typecast and then I aged out of that role and I couldn't really get anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was in Everything Everywhere All at Once as like the... best supporting character in that movie. And he won an Oscar for it, and it was like a big deal. And then he was in Loki season 2.
Oh.
Which was really bad, but, you know, he's getting work again, but he's in an action movie next month.
Okay.
Where he's like, it's kind of like a John Wick thing, where he's like, I retired from this, but he's like, I gotta go back for one last job, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe
it doesn't look great, but I'm glad he's getting work.
We're gonna do an Indiana Jones spin-off.
Yeah, he like saw... There's a pretty good video of like he sees Harrison Ford again, and Harrison Ford like recognizes him, and they hug, and he like cry. It's like really sweet. He's just a really sweet dude too.
Yeah. Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah,
because he's great in that, and he's great in the Goonies.
Yeah. I need to rewatch the Goonies too. I probably haven't watched that one since I was like 14, maybe. But
I watched it a couple years ago. It's good. Like it's a solid movie. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Goonies, new Star Wars show is just Space Goonies.
What's the new
Skeleton Crew with Jude Law.
Oh yeah, it finally came out.
Yeah. There's a big puppet in the last, a big like crab puppet. Ooh. There's a lot of interesting like big creatures in this one. I don't know how I feel about the show overall. I think it's like fine so far.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Jude Law's really good in it.
Makes sense.
He's really good. I just saw him in, I can't remember, did I talk about The Order last time? The Spokane neo-Nazi movie?
I don't recall.
I watched The Order, maybe it was in between these episodes, but it was based on a true story in like the 80s. There was like a neo-Nazi group forming in Spokane, and Jude Law plays like a disgruntled detective.
Spokane, Washington?
Well, they're like in Washington. No, they're like kind of all over.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like robbing banks and trying to form an army, pretty much. Nicholas Hoult plays like the main neo-Nazi. And he's really good because he like jumps between being like, we need to bring back the white race, and then just being like this sweet dude with his wife. And it's like a good example of like showing that these people are human, because you need to understand that evil exists in humans, you know? Like, just vilifying them to the point that they're not human is not helpful for anything.
No, yeah, definitely not. But yeah, interesting.
What else did I watch? Let's see. Let's check out ye old Letterboxd real quick. Did you watch Nosferatu?
No, not yet, and I'm pissed because internet culture fucking spoiled the... Well, I don't want to...
Yeah.
But spoiled something about good old Nasi's appearance for me. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? The movie really hadn't even been out a week yet.
I loved it. I really liked it. But I like Eggers' thing. Mm-hmm. Like, what he tries to do. I think it looks great. I think everyone is. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I've only seen 2 adaptations, obviously. But there's not the scene where he carries the coffin!
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not really. I didn't think there would be. Yeah. Because it's going for a different vibe, and I don't know how you make that scene not really funny. I think they do that scene in the Herzog. I was looking at some clips, and it looked like he carries it around in the Herzog one.
Interesting.
Which I need to watch that. Let's see. I watched... I was pleasantly surprised at how much I liked A Complete Unknown. The James Mangold, Bob Dylan movie starring Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
Because every time I watch the trailer, it's just Timmy going... Hey, you want to be someone? You gotta be someone.
Yeah.
Hey, I know. It's just like, he's doing the voice, but it's like, when I hear like Austin Butler's Elvis voice, I'm like, that sounds, but I can't hear anyone do a Bob Dylan voice where I'm like, yeah, that feels like him, because he has a cartoon voice.
Yeah, that, and I mean, his voice did like change a lot through his career too. Like, I don't even think Bob Dylan could do like a consistent Bob Dylan voice. So it's
but once I got like into it, I think it worked really well. Edward Norton's in it, and he plays Peter Seeger.
Yeah,
he's delightful in it, and he's like, it's a really like, because I feel like outside of Wes Anderson movies, he plays kind of more gruff characters. He has like a rough nature to him.
I feel like that's a more post 2000s kind of development, or later in, but yeah, for sure. But
this one, he's like he's just like a nice dude, and he has a really soft touch to him. It just makes you feel really bad for him. Because, like, Bob, please don't plug in the electric guitar. Peter Seeger just wants you to play one folk song. He's like, fuck that guy. I'm going to plug in my electric guitar. Did you ever watch Elvis?
No.
There's a scene in Elvis where he goes up on stage and he's like, they're not gonna be able to handle this one. And it's like his kind of debut. He has the long hair, and they're like, oh, look at this gay boy. And then he starts rocking his hips, and all the women in the audience are like having orgasms. It's so fucking funny. They're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And there's kind of the opposite scene in this one because he's at a folk festival. And they're like, they're not going to like this. Don't do it. He's like, they're not ready for this one. And he plugs in the electric guitar. He starts playing. And it's like half the audience is like, yeah, the future of music. And the other half is like, we fucking hate you, Bob Dylan. And they're like throwing rocks at him.
Nice.
It kind of feels like a good companion piece to watch both of those movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure the director would probably prefer you watch, like, Walk the Line or something.
His other movie.
Yes. But no, those two would probably...
I like Mangold's stuff. I wasn't actually that big of a fan of Walk the Line when I watched it a couple years ago. And I really didn't like his new Indiana Jones movie. So, I was worried.
I didn't hate the Indiana Jones.
I thought it felt really long. I thought the third act was mostly really bad. I like the idea of it. I just don't.
It was I need to watch it more, but I was kind of lukewarm on it walking away. I didn't hate it. I didn't particularly love it.
But you know me, I love Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I have weird Indiana Jones opinions.
I like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull too. I mean, I haven't rewatched it. I'm working my way to it.
I also think that a lot of the same ideas are in that movie, like about an aging, and I just think they're better in that one.
For sure.
Also, I think it's they kill his son off screen. Yeah, like, he died.
It's like he can't be like off
recast him, or you could have been you could have a million things.
Yeah,
it's like you want to hold these other ones in high regard. Mm-hmm. They're all made by the same dude. You're still shitting on one of them. It just seems disingenuous, kind of thing.
I can feel that.
Also, the fridge scene's fucking awesome.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm kind of mad that they didn't go, like... I mean, they still probably will at some point, but I wish they went, like, kind of full James Bond with Indiana Jones. Because it's such, like, a full of potential, but it's got to be in the right hands or else it can be extremely racist, clearly. But...
I've heard I was going to pick up the new game and then I realized that, it's only on Xbox and PC until the spring of this year. And then it's coming to PS5.
Oh, really?
So I'll probably play it once it comes out. Because I've heard it's good.
I didn't realize it was coming to PlayStation at all.
Yeah. And Troy Baker I think it's Troy Baker that's doing the voice. And he does a pretty good job.
Yeah, I bought it, but I'm watching through the movies slowly first. But...
And then when it cuts to when the first part of 3 starts, you're going to watch all of the adventures of young Indiana Jones as well, and then go back to it.
I'll have to cut out all the non-canon old indie bits.
You just put that at the very end.
I think Lucas went back and Lucased those out.
He can do whatever he wants. He made Sebulba.
Although I think there's one episode where Harrison Ford did come back. Or something. I don't know.
Was it the first one he's in? Or the last one or something like that?
I don't know. I
haven't seen any of those.
I've
heard they're actually, like, decent.
Yeah, I might have seen, like, one episode as a kid. Because I think we had, like, a tape or something of it. And I was like, what? This isn't the young indie adventure that I'm familiar with where he's on the train. But, oh well. Anyway, we've talked about Indiana Jones a lot.
Anyway, Sonic 3 was awesome.
Yes. I have not seen it.
Have you seen any of them?
I've seen the first one, and I thought the first one was surprisingly... I was going into it with no expectations, and I walked away going, yeah, that was pretty funny, so...
Yeah. I don't like the first one at all.
Yeah.
And the second one, I was pleasantly surprised by. And then this one, I'm like... Why was this so good? The action in it's insane. It's like a Dragon Ball movie.
Okay.
There's a part where, spoiler, Shadow's in the movie. He's on every poster. There's a part where they're fighting and they like punch each other and it causes a ripple that makes a volcano explode or something. It actually feels like a Dragon Ball fight.
Okay. Speaking of Dragon Ball, I've been watching Dragon Ball Daima.
That's a new one, right?
Yeah.
Is that set after Super, or when's that set?
So... it's most people are under the assumption that it is before Super. I'm not completely convinced that it's not.
Is Super a reboot Or is that a sequel to Z? I don't understand how Dragon Ball works. GT was a reboot.
So, let me explain. Okay, so there's...
Welcome to the Mira Nair podcast.
Let's talk about anything.
Let's talk about Dragon Ball real quick.
So Dragon Ball, the original manga ran 42 volumes and was split in between the two animes. The original Dragon Ball, which is like Kid Goku to Teen Goku, and then Dragon Ball Z, which is like when they introduce all the Saiyan stuff. And Dragon Ball Z has like 4 sagas, but it has a tiny little arc at the end that has a little time skip where Goku basically like asks for Majin Buu to be reincarnated as this like kid named Oob, who he basically like then it takes, and he's like, I'm gonna train you, kid.
Oob, like Boo backwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm gonna train you, kid, let's go. And they leave, and it's like Goku ditches his whole family to go train this kid.
Sounds like a thing Goku would do.
They fly off into the sunset, and it's meant to be like, oh, this is the next generation. And that was the end of Z, and then GT came along and did nothing with Oob. Like, little to nothing with Oob, and then just kind of did its own thing. And that was a sequel to...
Kai is the reboot. Okay, sorry.
Kai is a remake of Z that cuts out all the filler. Or all the padding.
Okay.
And the filler. So it turns, like, the Frieza saga from, like...
1,000 episodes.
From, like, 80 episodes down into, like, 30 or something. So it cuts it down. It's the only way that you can get Dragon Ball in the original aspect ratio over here, because for whatever reason, Funimation like loves to crop, and like
so many, like every company does that now.
Yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
The fan base for like this is like a fight that had been going on for years and years and years. Still,
kind of like the Frieza saga.
Yeah,
it goes on for years.
Yes, exactly.
So,
yeah, but then okay. GT sucked. It wasn't written by Toriyama. It was the anime studio.
Yeah, I hate
so
that.
Everyone hated GT.
So true.
And then for years that was it. That's all there was. And then they did that Battle of Gods movie, which they readapted into the beginning of Super, along with Resurrection F. And that became the Super timeline, which retcons the very last little arc of Dragon Ball Z where he goes and trains Oob. Some people still... There seems to be like this weird mentality in the fan base where they're like, no, nothing is non-canon. It all like fits. So
if you smash the puzzle pieces in hard enough, it'll fit.
So everyone's like, yeah, Super takes place in between the Buu saga and the Peaceful Worlds arc, which is where he trains Oob or meets Oob and stuff. And I don't think that's true. I just think that there's been so much that's been like clearly gone the complete opposite direction from what was set up in that last arc of the manga. And then Daima takes place before Super, and it does stuff that kind of retcons Super, but everyone in the fan base is like literally like 98. There's like not a doubt in most people's minds that like, no, this is like before Super. Like they're just gonna, it'll go straight into Super. They'll resolve everything.
Manga fans would have their mind shattered by Western comics.
Yeah. Yeah. My mind has been shattered many times trying to figure out. It's like, all right, can I read this run? What do I need to know? It's like, well, you're going to need to know information from this run, this era, this, and it's like...
And in actuality, you just go, no, just read it. And just infer. Like...
Yeah. Yeah. But...
The last few years I've, because I didn't get in comics until I started working at the comic shop. Mm-hmm. And for so long, I'd be like, okay, I gotta go read this. And then I'm like, I give up. I'll just read. And then if I'm interested, I'll read what they reference to.
Yeah, I usually like look online, and if it depends on what it is, because there's some stuff where it's like, I don't want to accidentally like pick up like Funeral for a Friend or something and be like, what the fuck's going on?
Superman's dead?
Okay, I mean, I wish I would have seen that, but
Speaking of funeral for a friend...
Is that what...
Here's a poster of Funeral for a Friend.
Nice.
I got a polybagged version of Superman 78. So when Superman died, and it was like $10 because it was printed a billion times. But it came with a bunch of stuff. It came with like a felt bookmark, and it came with like little stickers, and I was like, "What the hell? There's a lot of stuff in here."
Nice.
I can't. I'm gonna have trouble folding this back up. Look, Booster Gold's there. I'm actually just really interested in what's happening.
On another note, I watched the entirety of that Green Lantern animated series they did.
The CG one?
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was actually really fucking good.
Okay.
It's got a little bit... I can't say there's any, actual direct fridging that happens in the series. A little bit of that fridge spirit exists in the sense that, a lot of the female characters in the show do kind of just exist to service the male characters. That's, my only big critique of the series, but, even then, it's still pretty well done. And it was good. It's big Clone Wars energy. And, not even, first season. Maybe, season 3-ish era, where it's it starts to pick up pace a little bit. Because the first few episodes, I was throughout the course of the first episode, I was like, I don't know. And then by the end of the, first two-parter, I was like, okay, that was pretty good, actually.
Oh, you know what I finished? Superman and Lois finished.
Yeah. I'm waiting until they release, a complete DVD box set, and then I'm going to buy it and watch it.
The ending is... So, season 4 got wrecked by budget cuts and CW losing the rights, and it got cut from 18 episodes to 10. Oof. And a bunch of the main series cast were delegated down to guest stars. But even with that, and the bad CG, because they had not a lot of money, it's genuinely some crazy good TV. And I think the last 10 minutes are one of my favorite TV moments of anything.
Oh, wow.
It's like a monologue by Superman, and it's a flash forward and stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, I'll definitely probably end up watching it all before the summer.
And then we watched the first episode of Smallville, because I've seen a couple episodes here and there. But I thought the first episode was great.
Yeah,
it seems like I'm going to really like Smallville.
I know that first season plot line is more or less taken directly from Smallville, with the X-Kryptonite, or yeah.
So,
I don't know if that existed in any of some of the lesser known comics before that I haven't read, but
I'm going to this year I'm going to try to read as much of Action Comics as possible.
Yeah. The old Action Comics?
All 1,000.
Oh, you want to borrow my Golden Age Superman omnibuses?
Maybe.
I've got the first 5.
They started printing DC Finest. I don't know if you've seen those.
Are those small ones?
Yeah. No, that's the DC Compact Comics, which is up top. The DC Finest are right there in that right behind you. You see the Superman, the blue. You see the little guy.
The little guy.
Yeah, you see the picture of Superman down there.
I mean, yeah.
So that's the new... Marvel has the Epic collections, and this is kind of DC's answer to that.
Okay.
They're doing a bunch of those, and I really like the spines on these, and that collects the first, I think, 25 Action Comics.
Okay. So. Yeah. Nice.
Because I've probably only read about 50 issues of Action Comics.
Yeah, because I don't think they're going to do any more of the big omnibuses that I've fucking been collecting. I
mean, they've done the Golden... They've done a lot of them.
I know, but they haven't printed one in
4 years.
It's been 3, I think.
Okay.
It's been a minute. But they did jump ahead and just do a Silver Age omnibus, which gives me a little hope, and I'm glad that they're doing that, because I always hear so much about, like, Silver Age Superman, and there's, like, none of it available.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's like, am I going to read this digitally, or am I never going to read it?
Yeah. It's like, all right, I'll go read some fucking muddy scans online.
Yeah, it's crazy, because there's so many things from history that are just not collected anyway.
Yeah.
For, like, Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's like, at least make it digital. I get that it's not, like, easier said than done.
Yeah.
But at least, like, put the work in to make it digital, because I realize that at least you don't have to print all those copies and maybe not sell them. Yeah. But, yeah. Anyway,
it's nearly 40 minutes in, so let's talk about some Mira Nair.
Yeah. You would think the way we've avoided talking about it that we didn't like these movies, but I don't know about you.
I really enjoyed 5 of the 6.
I'd say I, like, really, really enjoyed 4 of the 6. I thought 1 was pretty good. It was, like, it kind of fell more in the middle for me. But, and then 1, I was like, eh.
Yeah, the first one I watched, which we'll eventually get to, was my least favorite, and I was, like, worried. I'm like,
yeah,
this just didn't connect with me.
I wonder if we watched the same one, maybe.
Anyway, let's start with Salaam Bombay from...
Yes.
87, 88, something like that. Let's see.
Yes, this was the second one I watched.
Okay. The 88.
Yeah.
So, little kid on the streets of India. First, he blows up a motorcycle, or he burns down a bicycle or a motorbike that his brother's working on for a client. He gets sent to the circus to make money to come back. The circus leaves him. He buys a ticket to Bombay to make all his money back. And then he lives on the streets of Bombay for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Kind of just a movie about living on the streets, how children are just used as tools, as sexual objects, as one of them is. Yeah. As slaves, pretty much.
Yeah.
He works as a little tea. He's like the milkman that brings you milk cartons, but just cups of tea.
Yeah.
Just uncovered. I was just like, what the hell? It's like raining. It's like, well, there's too much water inside. What the fuck am I supposed to do? I don't have covers for this.
Right.
So his name's Krishna. I think they call him Chai Pao or something like that. They give him another name that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But his name's Krishna.
Yeah, it's been, I think, 2 weeks since I watched this one, maybe.
Okay, it's been an hour since I watched it.
Yes. But yeah, basically, he kind of gets a little bit of a comfort spot between working at the tea place, and he also hangs out with all the prostitutes at this, like, not a brothel, but is totally a brothel. Like, the guy running
Baba?
it. Yeah, Baba.
Baba is fucking evil.
Yeah, I don't like him. He's bad.
Yeah. Baba is a pimp.
Yeah, he's a pimp, although he tries to pretend that he's not, and he tries to hide behind some form of decorum, but pretty much anyone can see, especially when it's like, I don't remember what exactly they were doing. They had like some high client or someone he was trying to make a deal with or impress or something, and he came through, and the one drug dealer that Chilam, yeah. Yes, who's friends with Krishna. What's it called? There's like a scene where he like, what did he do? Like kick him in the legs or something?
Yeah. So there was like a reporter doing a story on him, and he was trying to like show off how he, is more than just like a businessman. He's like a savior to the streets. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, my wife, she was a prostitute. I saved her. I rescued her. This is our daughter. So like even the women in his life that aren't prostitutes anymore, he's still using to lift himself higher.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know. He's just insane. So he brings Chilam up and he just starts hitting him with a bell going, jump, jump. And he's like, see? Pretty cool. And the reporter's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then leaves. He's like, what's wrong?
Yeah, that's such a...
I'm like, what do you mean what's wrong?
That's
and then the
so
very
out of
next
pocket.
scene, his daughter runs up to him and is like, "Play with me, Baba," and he shakes him over. He shakes her over the side of the building, and I'm just like, I turn to Hinata. It's like when the intrusive thoughts win.
Right?
What the hell's going on?
It's like, oh my gosh!
Like even for him, I'm like, what the fuck's happening?
Yeah, because like, you clearly, and it happens later in the movie, but it's like. You think as he wouldn't want that relationship to be fractured, but I guess at that point in time he just didn't give a shit. But yeah, she becomes withdrawn over the course of the I felt bad. I feel bad for all the characters in the movie, clearly. The ones that are worthy of it, but...
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to when he first showed up, but Chillum, I was just like, this is really sad. Because he's an adult, obviously, and he's hanging out with a kid, which is weird, but also it's like... Chillum's a drug dealer. He's the main drug dealer for Baba. But it becomes blatantly clear later on that he's been the drug dealer for Baba since he was a kid. Mm-hmm. Because Chillum dies later on in the movie from a drug overdose. And he's immediately replaced with a new kid.
Yeah.
Who's then just given the title of Chillum. And it's just like, oh... He's been a drug addict since he was a kid and has been used just the same as these women are used. Mm-hmm. Just in a different capacity.
Yeah.
And that's why, he breaks down, he acts like a child. It's just, really sad. He begs the 11-year-old protagonist for money.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I know.
And then he steals all his money and overdoses. And it's just it was a dick move to steal all the kids' money, but he's also a drug addict.
Yeah, the money he was going to use to get both of them out of there.
Yeah.
And it's just that is sad. And then, that poor little girl that also, was, giving him her share of the money, and then, they both get caught by the police who steals that money and then
sends them to reform school. There's a lot of different plot threads that happen, but the main thing is there's, I guess 4 main characters we, care about, I guess. There's Krishna, who is our main lead.
Yes.
He goes through every ordeal, pretty much. Mm-hmm. He's trying to make money to go back home. He needs 500 rupee. Mm-hmm. He's making, 10 a week at most, it seems.
Yeah. Not much.
There's Sweet 16. I don't actually remember if she has a name they give her. But that's what he calls her. She is sold to the brothel for her virginity?
Yeah.
Because somebody's going to pay 10,000 rupee to take her virginity. Mm. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And she's depressed and withdrawn and kind of distant.
And she's like, I want to kill myself.
That's one of the scummy things that Baba does, is he's basically hired to groom her and kind of prepare her for the position. Yeah. So he kind of just leads her on and takes her out on dates, and
which is probably what happened to
his wife, or
his wife's. I'm trying to think of the daughter's name.
I don't remember.
Nanja? No, I'll check.
But
yeah, his wife, at the beginning, it's oh yeah, she's a prostitute and she's keeping her kid here, or she's staying up. But at the end of the day, she's just another person that's been manipulated by Bob. It's just every single person in this movie. Mm-hmm. It's hard to be mad at them because at the end of the day, they're affected by Baba being the most evil person ever.
Yeah. Yeah. In a certain sense, yeah.
So it's the wife shouldn't be doing this. It's probably good that her daughter is eventually taken away from her.
Yeah.
But she was also groomed. She was probably in the same exact spot that Sweet 16 was.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Yeah, for sure. Kind of reminiscent of what? Never mind, I can't remember the actor's name. I was going to say the one plot line from Boogie Nights with the mom.
I don't remember who's even in that movie.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
But yeah, the little girl, she's playful and she just wants to play, but as the movie goes on, she keeps getting ridiculed and ignored and attacked by her dad. She eventually just stops talking. Mm-hmm. And she's taken away at the end because they go to a reform school where orphanage. It's like both. They have
Yeah.
chicken wire everywhere.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But she stays there, and she's probably eventually going to be adopted. Mm-hmm. And Krishna leaves. He's like, I'm fucking out of here. I want to go see my real mom.
Yeah, well, some other kid he befriends convinces him to escape and chickens out.
Yeah.
And so Krishna's just like, well, hey, why?
Having another Popeye energy. Woo! I just had Poppin' Peach Mango. Now I'm having Bruiser Blackberry.
Wow.
Oh, they should do a spinach flavor.
They should. Or every flavor should be the spinach flavor, but it should actually be like something that's not spinach, clearly. Like,
Oh, and this one has 5 less calories. 70% juice.
Cutting some corners. But,
Don't worry, it has 1,340% of the vitamin BE I need for a day.
ooh, I don't BE.
Yeah, BE. And it has B12. That says B6.
Oh. There's a lot of bees in there. Anyway. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this is definitely like... probably the biggest bummer out of all the movies. It's the one that has the most explicit, just like kind of like down ending for sure.
Yeah,
off the top of my head.
Pretty much everything is hopeful, or at least the characters are not
Reach some
being exploited.
State of
like
stability of some sort.
Yeah, like there is a movie we'll talk about later on about like jumping ahead to Hysterical Blindness. Like that is the ending of that. I don't really feel like the characters in that learn anything, and they're probably gonna just do the same thing again. But they're not. They're adults. They're at least like alive and healthy.
Yes.
This is a child that is continually going to be exploited.
Yeah.
And no one, I guess the mother, not his mother, but the Baba's wife escapes.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, she's finally leaving Baba. She's like, I can't do this. You ruined everything. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to leave. And he tries to manipulate her, and he pulls out a knife. He's like, then kill me. Because that's what you're doing to me. Just kill me. Yeah. And they like fight, and he drops the knife.
Yeah, I forgot about this.
And then Krishna just shows up, and this 11-year-old boy just picks it up and just stabs him in the back and kills him.
Yeah, good.
And I literally stood up. I'm like, fuck yeah, Krishna. Fuck.
Yeah,
and then it seems like him and I can't remember her name, but it seems like those two are going to escape together, and then there's a giant parade festival going on outside, and they get separated. Mm-hmm. And then it just ends with him walking by himself and sitting down by himself once more.
Yep.
With 0 money at the starting point again. And then it just ends. Almost like, and it just says, for the children on the streets of Bombay. I'm like,
yeah. Yeah, that's sad. And it's like, I don't know, to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about India outside of just like some basic surface level stuff. I should probably do a big dive. They didn't really teach us much about it in school. They very much love the Western Civ, but I if they talk anything about like the Eastern side of things, they usually focus on like China. And it's like,
yeah. I think I watched Slumdog Millionaire in like a class one, and I think that's about the most I got.
Yeah. There might have been like a throwaway paragraph dedicated to like the Indus Valley or something, but like, because I mean, you gotta mention it, but
yeah. One of the taglines for this movie now is like, before Slumdog Millionaire, there was this India, and it is hard to not draw parallels because they are both about like children being exploited on the streets of India. I'm sure there are many movies about that, but
probably, if I had to take a guess, yeah. It seems like a pretty big problem over there. I mean, yeah. But
this problem here is just better at hiding it, I guess, here.
That and
it seems like more of an open thing.
Yeah. That and I don't know if our populace is quite as like concentrated as theirs.
Like India is so packed.
Yeah.
Every major city, obviously, and there are villages. But it's like every single city there seems like it's New York.
At least from my exposure. But yeah, this one. I mean, a bit of a bummer, but this is a great fucking movie.
Yeah, really solid.
This is the second one I watched. Like I said, the first one I watched, I was like, I don't really know. And then I watched this one. I was like, okay, now we're cooking. That was a fucking movie.
Yeah.
And yeah. So yeah. You got any other notes you want to add to this one before we go into the ratings?
Let me think while I blow my nose for the 40th time.
Yes.
Nope.
Yeah. All right.
I'd probably give this one a 7.
Yeah.
Thing.
I might give it an 8.
Yeah, I really liked it. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Let's talk about Mississippi Masala with Denzel.
Yeah. This was I really like this one.
I really like this one as well.
Yeah. I think this was the third one I watched.
This was the 4th I watched.
Okay. And yeah, this one, there's so much in this one that I really liked. And
yeah,
I think my favorite plotline for the movie, surprisingly enough, was the dad's.
It's really good. It's about, the dad.
Kind of the heart of the movie, honestly.
Yeah. And it's the thing that caused, like, it explains everything. Yeah. It explains, why people are the way they are.
Yeah,
how
it's a good,
our past can,
jumping on point for all of those themes throughout the movie.
So he was a Ugandan-born Indian, because when Uganda was colonized by the British, they brought a bunch of Indians, kind of pseudo-slaves over to build the railroads, and then they just left them there.
Yeah, once the railroads were finished, there was, like, a reactionary event that happened where basically, they were just like, all right, well, Africa's for black Africans.
I don't even think it was right then. From what I understand, it was like, because it seemed like he was born after that, and it wasn't until that Amin, or whatever his name was, rose to power, that it was really started getting bad.
Yeah, no, because that was the whole catalyst, was he had badmouthed that person on like an interview on the BBC.
And this was already after he was like, we need to get all the Indians out of Uganda.
So that basically like sealed him and his family's fate. And he was like basically brothers with this one guy.
Okelu?
No, yeah, I think it was. If not that, it was very close to that. I think it was Okelu though.
Okelo.
Okelo. Okay. But who
pretty much, he pretty much had to lie. Like, he said Indian or Uganda is for black Africans, but it doesn't feel like he feels that way. It feels to me like he's trying to get him to leave.
Yeah, I mean that, and when he said the sentiment, it almost sounded. Maybe I misread it, but like, it didn't even necessarily sound like he was using that as like his point of view, but was just like, no, like that's just kind of,
this is the mouthpiece.
This is what the zeitgeist is right now. You just kind of have to, like, if you want to be safe, you have to leave. But he misinterprets or just is very just hurt by the whole thing and kind of feels betrayed by him. So he's like, all right. So he doesn't even like look at him when he leaves, and his whole family's like, what the hell? And
then it cuts to like 20 years later or something like that.
Yep. And they're in Mississippi,
where there's a predominant black population and a predominant Indian population. And then we get into almost like a Romeo and Juliet situation. Yeah. But it seems like, they're fine at first. There's an Indian guy. It's like, we're all colored people. If we're not white, then we're colored. We got to stick together. Mm. And Hinata was watching that part with me. She's like, they're right. Because it is, that makes sense. I mean, but then as soon as the two, Denzel and, what is her name?
It wasn't Mina, was it?
It was Mina.
Okay.
Sarita not Chode. Choudhury? Chode? It might be Choudhury. She's hot.
She's very attractive.
But Demetrius and Mina, they form like a love affair after Mina hits his car.
Yeah. She hits his car. They swap numbers with an insurance thing. And then basically later that night, she goes on a date with a different guy that her family's like, ooh, like this might be a good guy for you.
Yeah, I think they're kind of like supposed to get married kind of thing, it seems like.
Yeah, at least like, if not like fully arranged, like a soft kind of like, give it a shot. I mean, you never know.
But then they start a love affair. It starts as just like a simple little like friendship, and then they're on like the bayou. They're like they're by like a lake or a swamp, and they're like walking.
She had gone out with this one guy, and then
Demetrius shows up.
Yeah,
or he's there.
She's
go
like, to a club where
I hit your car.
Yeah, and then he cuts in and basically, for all intents and purposes, steals her away. But there's also a jealousy subplot that's very kind of small throughout the movie, and maybe
everything seems small until it's no longer small to everyone. Like, doesn't seem like a big deal. It's like, they're jealous, and it's like, we hate black people now. It's like, whoa, where did this come from?
Yeah. But I'm trying to think, because like, obviously his like ex-girlfriend represents like part of that, like going away to LA and kind of like, I don't know if it's like selling your artistic values or that they're going for, but also like, I don't know, it acts as like a mild tension point for them in the relationship.
Because that's how it kind of started, is he just wanted to... It's Alicia, I think her name was?
Yeah.
He just wanted to make her jealous.
Yeah.
And then he's like, that's what it started with, but then I fell in love with you. Mm-hmm. And then Mina has that arranged person, and he gets jealous because he sees that, and that's where it kind of boils over and doesn't like get to the point of like a race war, but suddenly these two cultures are no longer aligned. Yeah. And Demetrius, who had done all the carpet cleaning, because that's what he does, he's like a carpet cleaner, suddenly has no more work in town because all of the Indian establishments are like, nope, he tried to get with one of us. Yeah. And we don't want that.
Yep. So he sues for the car accident.
Which he said he wanted to do, but now he's like, well, now this is the only way that Mina will talk to me.
That and
he's just pissed.
Well, then he's about to have his business like foreclosed
because he has suddenly no customers.
Yes, so I think he's just like, I gotta stay afloat. I gotta make my payments for my loan so I can keep my van and try to keep my business afloat. But yeah, and then meanwhile, while all of this is going on, there's like a subplot with like Mina's father, and he's trying to sue like I don't know if he's trying to sue Uganda or like a specific branch of government in Uganda, but like
I think he's just trying to sue Uganda.
Yeah, but there's a new regime.
Yeah. The dictator had been overthrown. I don't know for sure. I almost did a bunch of research on this, but then I'm like, I'm lazy. So, but that is something I want to look at.
I know. I always fucking save these movies for like the very last second. And as I'm watching them, I'm like, I would love to research all of these topics. We're a very official podcast.
Yeah. Here. A big old car outside making a bunch of, I'm a Mustang. I'm gonna.
Yeah. But
But yeah, he's suing them, and they're like, okay, we're going to hear your plea. You have to come here. So then he's like, I need to get her away from this black man. We're just going to move back to Uganda, where there can't possibly be any black people there.
Nope. None at all.
But then Demetrius and Mina just decide to run away together. And that's pretty much how the movie ends. It cuts to the father. It cuts back to the father, who comes back to Uganda, and he finds out that his friend had died many years ago.
Basically, almost right after he left.
And then I don't think they had mentioned his letters until that point.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like he left, but then it seemed that he's like, I wrote so many letters. And it kind of is like, oh, so maybe he was feeding his own hatred himself by being like, well, he's not responding, so obviously he hates me, or something like that.
See, I didn't even consider that. I just assumed he had been writing letters, but then not sending them or something.
But that could have been it too.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
his friend had pretty much sacrificed himself to save him, and then had kept working to save other people, and died because of it.
Yeah. I was just like,
And then it ends with him embracing like a black child, like a little kid. He's like watching the dance, and he's seeing that, and he's like,
he writes his wife, and he's like, I'm like, home is where the heart is, and I'm decided, fuck this lawsuit, I'm coming home to you. And then as he's like assumingly leaving, he stops and still just gets to enjoy being back home, and he's welcomed back. It was funny because this is one of the ones I sometimes will rent movies and watch them in 15 to 30 minute chunks on my breaks at work. Yeah, and I was watching that scene. I'm like, but I still had 10 minutes left, so I'm like, all right, pause, go.
And then the credits roll.
Yeah, and I was like, because the whole time I'm like, that would have been the perfect ending to this movie. But there's still 10 minutes left, and I sat back down and started, and I'm like, oh wait, that was the ending. I mean, there's an after credits kind of you see Demetrius and Mina just chilling in a field somewhere.
This feels like maybe one of the most hopeful of the movies.
For sure.
There's a lot of... Also, because most of the first hour is just really sweet. It's just their love affair, and it's really tender, and Denzel's just the charisma machine of the last 50,000 years. He's exceptional in everything.
It's been a while since I've seen young Denzel in anything. It's been a while since it's he's not Grandpa anymore. Yeah. It's what?
He's a hottie. He's still a hottie. Grandpa Denzel is still a hottie, but he's so charismatic. There's literally a scene where he's just like, she's like, are you hitting on me? He's like, is it working? And then she's like, yeah. Or something like that. I was like, I don't think most people that would work on most people, but it's Denzel. He can literally say anything.
Yeah, I know.
And it'll work.
I was listening to some of his lines. I'm like, I could not pull that one off.
Thomas, you are just like Denzel.
That's not true.
It's true. Women around the world love you.
We both got that dragon energy.
Yeah, dragging these balls against your throat.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, but this one was really good. This might have been my favorite.
I thought this was going to be my favorite. I think it's my second favorite. I was really shocked by one of them and how much I liked it. It really got me. But I thought this was great. I think it's beautiful, too. I think it really looks nice.
Yeah.
And it brings, a certain... I think it's... When you capture a small town, sometimes it's easy to make it look gross or decrepit. And I think this kind of captures a certain beauty in a small town kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see it. Yeah. That and it's nice having a movie that kind of acts as Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, only without having to cater to the white point of view as much.
There's also an interesting thing where the white people it occasionally cuts to are just racist against whoever. Once the Indian families and the black families start fighting, there's just a white person's I heard you got a problem, and they just use the N-word. They're just I heard you got a problem with it. And I'm whoa! And it's just and like the very first scene where Mina crashes into Denzel, the white guy immediately gets out. He has like, I don't think he has a Confederate flag hat, but he has like something like that. He's like, "Hey boy, what's your problem?" It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's like, these two families are warring. But guys, you gotta think about, remember what the Indian man said? We gotta stick together here. Because white people hate you both, apparently. It's really rough.
Yeah. No. And it's sad to see that sometimes the divide and conquer kind of thing works on, like, these cultures, but this movie does instill that bit of hope where it's like, yeah.
Because the dad's like, it's tough to change, and times, they change very slowly. And they're like, fuck that, we're just going to leave. We're going to do our own thing. We're going to make things change. Like, hell yeah. So, yeah, I thought it was beautiful. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, me too. 9.
9? I think I'm also at a 9.
Yeah. Sweet. Alright, the next one. Monsoon?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Let me double check.
I believe it is Monsoon Wedding.
Yeah, Monsoon Wedding from 2001.
Out of all the movies like we watched, like before I had any dive into Indian cinema, like this is more or less the kind of movie I would imagine that like most Bollywood movies would be.
Yeah.
A little less, I probably would expect a little more dancing, maybe a little less of the mature themes, because this movie obviously goes some pretty dark places. But
yeah, I saw someone say it's kind of like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, but then with like a random, really intense like plot line.
I have not seen that. So.
It's it's about
Similar
a big
vibe.
family,
Yeah.
This does remind me of like kind of like a Bollywood movie, except it's much shorter, because I feel like that's the other thing that surprises me about this director's work, is they're all like 2 hours, which I just feel like a lot of the norm of Indian movies is like really pushing close to 3 hours or longer.
Yeah,
at least from what I've watched.
Yeah, I still haven't watched, like, I mean, I've got a small handful.
Yeah, you've watched Bahubali?
Yeah, Bahubali. I still need to watch
RR?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched that one now, and I've seen Iga by that same director, which is where a guy dies and becomes a fly so we can get revenge.
That sounds awesome. What the hell?
It's stupid. It's too long, but it's fun. Because it's like a fly trying to like perform. He's like, I'm gonna go break this circuit so that the electricity will get. It's really stupid.
They should do a sequel to The Fly like that.
They give him armor in it too.
What?
Like this. She figures out that it's him, and she gives him like little metal plates. And there's a part where he's working out. It's so stupid.
Yeah. To be fair, maybe Bahubali is closer to what I imagine tone of like Bollywood movies being, but like, I guess I kind of wave that one away because it's also like a mythological kind of story. So it's like all the kind of extra elements to it kind of work to that story's advantage in a weird way. Whereas like, I mean, obviously this movie wasn't like ungrounded in any real sense, honestly. It's just kind of a vibe tone kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that
like,
that was one of the things I struggled with, is the tone a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily to the detriment of the movie. Like, I don't think it's the movie's fault that I'm not well versed in foreign films.
I agree.
I think by the end of it, I got like I was in the rhythm. It just took a while to get into that rhythm.
Yeah.
It felt a little longer because of that.
Especially considering that the tone is pretty different from a lot of her other movies. So it was like,
it gets really lighthearted, and then fucking Hitler's in the background.
I missed that.
No, I mean like the evil. There's like this evil shadow looming.
Yeah,
everyone's like,
yeah,
and then he's just like, "Hello, little girl."
Yeah. It's just like, oh jeez. But oh fuck. There's like one scene. It's like the scene where he like starts eating the flowers, not the evil guy.
Yeah,
the wedding planner guy. And it's like I remember watching that scene, and I had to rewind it. I was so confused just because of like how it was being done production. I was like, is he tripping on these flowers? Because like it got all like fuzzy and kind of like kind of zooming in on him, and he was acting weird, and he's just eating flour. I'm like, they didn't really express that as a character quirk before this scene, so I was just like,
but then after, he's just doing stuff with flowers the whole time. Like, what's the fuck? He's like, I made an umbrella out of flowers. What's happening?
Yeah. It's like, okay.
That's another guy who I'm like, when he first appeared, I'm like, this guy's kind of a dickhead. But by then I'm like, this guy's awesome.
Yeah.
I love this guy.
By the end of it, I was like, all right, you go, dude. You go get that. Go get that girl.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is kind of more of an ensemble piece. There's a bunch of plot threads, a bunch of characters going around. It's all takes place around an arranged marriage. So there's the wife-to-be and the husband-to-be. They have a plot thread where she's in love with
her ex-boyfriend.
Is it her boyfriend? But he's married. So, like, he's been having an affair. Yeah. And she's like, well, he says he's going to leave his wife for me. And he also looks much older than her. Like,
yeah, he did. I can't remember what he did because...
at the very beginning, he's on, like, a show talking about, like, the future of India. I couldn't tell if he was, like, a professor or if he was just, like, an anchor. I couldn't tell what he was.
I got the impression he was, like a talking head, like, Tucker Carlson-esque kind of personality, but... that was just my vibe.
And I might have missed it. They might have talked about how they knew each other. I don't know if she was like an intern or something.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I got from it. It did not feel like an equal share, like, power relationship. I was a little worried from the beginning when I saw them.
She goes and attempts to have an affair. I don't know if they got very far because the cops show up.
Yeah, like, she's like, I need to see him one last time before I get married. The cops show up. And he's like, oh, fuck, my wife's calling. Yeah. So, while the cops are fucking harassing her, he just goes off to talk to his wife on the phone. And they're like, we'll keep you company. So she just gets in the fucking car and drives away. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. Like, good for her. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I agree. And then she basically, like, tells her... It's not her sister, but it's like it's her like...
It's her, like, adopted sister.
It took me a minute to figure out that dynamic that she was adopted, and I was like, okay.
And she tells her, and then she's like, I need to tell my husband, or to be. And they do, and he has a crash out. Like, he freaks out about it. And then he forgives her. He's like, I've had relationship problems in the past, but I really appreciate your honesty. And it's, like, sweet. And he's like, I understand.
He's like, let's give it a shot.
Yeah. He's like, all marriages have problems. You're being honest before we get married, so.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're not married yet. We just met.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed is kind of a common trend through all of her movies, more or less, was I feel like there are lots of points where it's like they're the type of plot points you would expect to see go down like typical routes. To the point where like the first couple movies of hers that I watched, I was like kind of rolling my eyes like, oh god, it's going to go down like this route.
And then it didn't.
And then it doesn't. Yeah. And that was something that I found quite pleasant throughout the entire... Because I thought that was going to branch into like... Maybe she secretly just wants out of the wedding and was just trying to do whatever. And like the second he was like, we could still get married. Like, I figured that was going to branch into another plot where she's like, oh shit, I still have to marry this guy. I don't want to leave my family or whatever.
Or I thought it was all going to come out like on the wedding night, but no, she just immediately is like, I need to go tell him. And it's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. So there's that plot line. The wedding planner.
The wedding planner is there.
He develops a crush on a servant.
On the like the maid or the servant of like the family.
And ends up like, basically him and the boys end up like gazing up or stalking her through a window.
They're working on the wall where like the lights are, and he sees her through the window, and she's like trying on like expensive stuff just to feel something kind of thing. Yeah. And then the other guys see her and is like, you're stealing. He's like, fuck, don't say that. And she freaks out and she runs away. He's like, fuck, you ruined everything.
So yeah, they kind of have to engage in a campaign to like be like, hey, we're sorry.
Because he's like, she won't talk to me, so I'm gonna go home forever.
Yeah, that poor guy.
But they eventually get together, and he like wins her over, and he's sweet. You know, it's sweet. This movie's just really sweet most of the time.
Yeah, for the most part.
And then there's the the dad has a kind of through line throughout as kind of a guiding force, and then he eventually has something that intertwines with the adopted daughter, who is, she's like a really nice lady. She's excited for the wedding. She doesn't, she's like, I'm not getting married. I want to go off to like college. I want to do something. And then suddenly this one guy shows up.
He's like a friend of the family.
Yeah, he's like a lifelong friend of the dad. The family's been friends for generations, apparently. And it's very obvious from the beginning that he touched
he
her.
walks in the room and her eyes like are just like, and you know instantly what's going on.
She never told anyone, which is reasonable. But she sees him acting the same way with the youngest, like, granddaughter or something. Or
did she not? Did they not flash back to a scene where she was like trying to tell like her, not the father, like her like adopted father, but like was it like her real father or something? Because I swear they flashed back to a scene where she was trying to tell someone and they were like, no, but it might have just been a weird editing thing that was happening with.
I don't remember that, but
okay,
nothing came of it if she said.
Yeah.
So she's kind of been shut in.
But it seemed like they were like, oh, that was like a childhood lie kind of thing, and then she brought it back up with such ferocity. It's like, then they were like, oh, what the fuck? Or something. But
he keeps, like, being alone with this girl, and she's like, no. And, like, the night of the wedding.
Yeah.
Or the night before, or something like that.
She makes, like, a comment about kissing at the wedding, and they're like, what do you know about kissing? She's like, I don't know all about kissing.
And then she, like, is falling asleep, and he's like, oh, I'll take her home. And she just pulls her out of the car.
There's a straight-up line where she straight up says, like, oh, like, I know how older people kiss.
Yeah.
Like, because he said so or something, or where
someone told me it was like theoretically it feels innocent to everyone else because it's like, oh, she saw someone kiss or something, but it's all about context. And but he's gonna take her home, so he's in a car alone with her, and she's just what's her name?
There's a lot of characters in this one.
Rhea,
yeah. So Rhea is the one who is the adopted sister who was assaulted by him when she was like a little girl. But so she like gets in front of the car and pulls out the girl and causes a big scene, and people there are just kind of like, you know, deer in headlights, like they're not quite sure how to react or what to make of it. It kind of blows up in a big fight. The adopted father feels really bad because he's, you know, through, I'm sure, layers of society and decorum type
cultural
bullshit.
Expectations and family expectations. He's like, I don't know what to do. This is likely my best friend, or one of my best friends, and so she storms off.
Yeah,
and he finds her like the next day, and he's like, I don't know what to do, and he's like, Dawn. He's like, I can't imagine what you're going through. I'm so sorry, but he's like, I don't know. I can't do anything about him.
Yeah.
And
so she's like, I'm not going to the wedding.
He's like, if you're not going to the wedding, then there will be no wedding. You're so important to me. So she goes, and
then like a wedding picture that they have to take where, like, for whatever, he like whispers to the cameraman, and then the cameraman's like, hey, you go in front there. And it's like, the father sees this, and it's just like, and then like, the guy's got like some sort of like grand role in the ceremony, or like welcoming the guests or something. And then the father at that point is like, no, you're not doing that. Like,
you're leaving. I can't do this. And he's like, don't argue. Don't say anything. Just leave.
Yeah.
And they keep trying to say something. He's like, don't. Just leave. And this is another one. This is kind of like a twist on what I would expect from this. Because you would expect, like, punch, you know, or I'm gonna kill you, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously that is a more satisfactory thing to see, but this is a more grounded thing. Like, this makes sense. And there is, you know, he did do what he thought was right. He did, like, rise and, you know, and it's obviously that guy should be in prison, and you know, stuff like that.
Yeah,
and there might be something that happens after the movie, but
yeah,
there are small victories, and we should celebrate those.
No, for sure. Yeah, obviously the movie's not as focused on that as much as it is kind of having that family strengthening arc through this very dark storyline.
Yeah,
but yeah, it feels almost a little uneven, but I think the movie mostly pulls it off.
Yeah,
it's done. It's never like too in your face. It never gets graphic or anything about it.
Yeah.
It's so yeah, very good.
It was that was the one thing I struggled with was the tone of the movie, but I think it's all intentionally like that, and it's an interesting thing to think about how, like, you know, we have these big family events, and there's also just dark secrets in all family events too that are just like bringing the vibe. And it's like, oh, this guy's just evil.
It can happen.
Like, I was watching this with Joe, and I was just like, what the fuck, Joe? What the fuck?
Yeah.
But, yeah, those are the main plot line. There's also a plot line with a cousin. I don't even know what who she is. The, like, dancing girl.
Yeah.
And the Australian cousin who's like, yeah, I've been living in Australia, mate.
Yeah,
but they're like dancing, and it's like sweet. It's like a fun little plot thread.
It's a little cute one.
There's like a bunch of little tiny plot threads too.
Did whatever happened with the boarding school kid? Did that just like I saw he like got up and got involved in the family dance, but is he still going to boarding school?
I don't think so, because it seemed like the father was like, I didn't mean to make him sad, like. And he seemed like he was growing too, so.
Well, hopefully they didn't just. All right,
gay boy.
Yeah. It's like calling him out for being fruity and fat. Come on.
What is he, Thomas?
Kinda, yeah. I feel that.
You love dancing. You're always flossing.
I'm not. Yeah. I know that probably just looked like I was jerking off. I don't even know if you saw the other hand, but anyway.
But
yeah,
this is probably out of the ones I liked. This is probably my least favorite, but I still really enjoyed it.
This is not my least favorite, but this is like the one that I think is like in the middle, kind of. Yeah,
I was struggling to connect at some points, but I think that might be a kind of Western viewpoint kind of thing. Like, I wasn't completely able to engross myself until the end. It took a while to attach myself.
I think I got into it sooner than that, but it definitely took me a minute. It's got a bit of that. I'm always going to struggle with that weird early 2000s era where all movies, no matter how good the directors were, just kind of looked like dog shit. I mean, not all movies, but like a lot of these like kind of indie underground kind of directors. It's like, all right, let's scrap out what we can. We'll shoot it digital. It's like, no, it looks so bad. I mean, this doesn't look as bad as some other things I've seen from the year 2001 or whatever.
2001.
Yeah, but
the same year as Replicant, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, and The One, starring Jet Li.
Two pretty big movies.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I like this a lot. I would give it a 7.
Yeah, somewhere between a 6 and a 7. I'm not staking.
Let's talk about Hysterical Blindness.
Yes.
With Uma Thurman.
Yes. This was the first one I watched.
So you weren't hot on this one?
It was okay. Like, I didn't, like, hate it or anything, but, like, yeah, out of all of what we watched, it was definitely my least favorite.
I actually quite liked this movie. This was, I think, the second one I watched.
Yeah.
And I think that it really embodies a certain awkwardness in humans that isn't in most of these other movies. Like, it was so awkward the way that Uma Thurman was in this movie that it made me embarrassed. I was just like, this is making me feel weird. Because she's just, like, so almost neurotic. So, like, she's having a midlife crisis. She doesn't have a boyfriend. She lives with her mom still. You know?
Relate. Well, I don't live with my mom, but relate.
You don't have a boyfriend.
I don't have a boyfriend. I'm having a midlife crisis, even though I'm only 20.
Well, any time can be a midlife crisis if you decide that one day will be your end date.
Yeah.
True. But yeah, I don't know. I really I like the music in this a lot. Like, I think the soundtrack's good. I think it embodies that, like, the time period pretty well. And everyone just feels... It's reminded me a lot of a Kelly Reichardt film.
Yeah, no, I got those vibes.
Like, almost like Old Joy or Wendy and Lucy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I like those types of movies a lot. So I think I connected with it more than... Because I think I just like that kind of indie drama, talky a little more.
I like those movies, but I like the versions of those movies that are like a little tighter on the writing department as opposed to being more of the looser kind of like cinema verite. I mean, obviously not full cinema verite, but
yeah, I don't know. I think it comes and it goes for me, like my enjoyment of them, and
yeah,
I get where this might not click for some people, but it clicked for me. Yeah. I also really like the Gina Rowlands plot thread about her mother and the old man. It's just like a second chance at love. It was really sweet, and then it was really sad.
Yeah.
Because it's just like her mother. So Uma Thurman, early 30s in this movie, something like that. Her and her friend go to the bar every day. just to feel alive. They
Juliette Lewis?
Juliette Lewis,
yeah.
Who leaves her kid at home every day.
Yeah.
Which her kid's like 12, 13, something like that. Like, she can handle herself.
Yeah.
But she's bored. She doesn't have any guidance. Yeah. She's just sitting at home watching TV.
Yeah, she's clearly being neglected and is clearly making attempts to be like, hey, you know... Like, calls the grandma on her.
You want to hang out with me? I don't think she calls the grandma on her mom later, but earlier in the movie, she just calls, like, her neighbors. Like, hey, Mrs. Blah, 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 blah. Do you want to come watch TV with me? I'm like, this is sad.
Yeah.
But Juliette Lewis is just kind of sitting there. And she, like, flirts with the bartender and stuff. But it's like a lot of these things, like, what are we doing here? We're not making any progress in life. Like, and I'm not saying... You know, going to the bar, you know, you can't do that. But I'm like, every day? Well, no worrying, guys.
Yeah.
It's not even, most of the time, they're not even getting that drunk. They're just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
Like, you could be watching Human Condition right now.
Could. That would probably be a much better use of their time. But I don't know if Uma, it might stress her out and she might go blind during the movie. Yeah. Can't read the subtitles and won't know what's happening.
But yeah, Uma Thurman, the
movie starts with like her returning to work from like the hospital because I guess she went blind briefly and then gets to the hospital and then like is like waiting there for the doctor and her sight comes back
because it was just like a stress thing, which is a real thing. It's crazy. Yeah, like I think about that all the time. I'm stressed all the time. What if I just fucking went blind for a bit?
That would
be so scary, you know.
Yeah, that would be the worst time for that as well. It would be like, oh gosh, I'm so stressed out now I can't see.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this will do great things for my stress level.
Yeah, no kidding. So it's just kind of them spinning their wheels throughout the movie. Uma Thurman gets really
emotionally attached to this guy named Rick. Who Juliette Lewis was the first one who was like, I think he's hot. She's like, he looks like an asshole.
And then she goes over, and then he's like, hey, who's Juliette Lewis over there? She's pretty attractive.
She has a boyfriend.
She looks kind of bored. No, she's
having fun.
Yeah. Anyway,
she loves waiting. Yeah. I think she says that. I think she loves waiting.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, so then she has like a couple things she has a one night stand with him and then she's like, you want to come to my house? I'll make you dinner. And he's like, yeah, and then never shows up. And then she goes to the bar again and she's like, he didn't show up. And he's like, hey, you want to fuck? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, all right, let me go play or watch my friends play pool for a little bit. And then she's like, you want to dance with me? And he's like,
no.
And
she's like, why don't you want to dance with me? And she just like has a meltdown.
And he
like a drunken meltdown.
Shoves her and then leaves.
So obviously he did not need to do that, but she is like mauling him almost. She's like, come on. He's like, he's like so uninterested.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, shoving women, probably not a great idea. But he's just like a guy.
Yeah. Like, maybe...
We don't know anything about him by the end of the movie, pretty much.
Yeah,
He's just like, he likes to play pool. It's like, he has a house.
Exactly, yeah. Because it's like, fucking... Yeah, that whole bar scene where she's like, just getting on him and stuff. And it's like in front of her, like, one coworker that's not her bar friend.
Yeah.
And that's just like,
you okay? She's like, I'm fine.
It's like, oh, God. Yeah, I couldn't return to work after.
And at the same time, this is when Juliette Lewis gets a call being like, hey, your mom's on the phone yelling at you for not being with your child. She's like, I'm not at the bar every night. Lies.
Yeah.
And then, meanwhile, Uma Thurman's mom, who has been seeing this nice old man the whole movie, she finds out around the same time that he died.
Yeah, which... Another example of movie not going down the plot line I thought it was setting up, because they almost have like soft red herrings that are like, is this guy gonna be like a creepo,
or is he gonna steal her money? Because it seems like he's like, oh, you should be spending this money. It's like,
yeah, there's also like, you think he's gonna like maybe like get in a drunk accident or something in the last, because he kind of stumbles out of the bar and it's like he does die, but not...
Yeah, he just has like a heart attack.
Yeah. Like, oh, damn. Okay. But yeah, so that's sad, and you see the two of them kind of go through that. And a trait I noticed with both the mother and Uma Thurman's characters, they both seem to like, I mean, obviously like lack any like solid character of their own, or at least they seem to like, oh, like, you like this thing? Me too! Yeah. And you see like a smaller example of that with like the mother between that guy, but like you obviously see the more extreme case of it through Uma Thurman's character. But I thought that was like an interesting thing that was in there. But yeah.
But she finally, after he dies, she finally spends the money she's been saving her whole life to buy her nice furniture.
Yeah.
And it's sweet. It's like, why haven't you spent this? You're old. What do old people do with their money?
It's a thing that a lot of old people do.
They're like, I'm afraid.
They'll nickel and dime. They want to save it for their kids. You know, and a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And then it ends with, like, her and Uma Thurman and Juliette Lewis and Gina Rowlands just like sitting around on like a bright day. And, like, it's kind of hopeful, like, hey, maybe they learned a couple lessons, but it's mostly like, they're probably just going to go back to the bar later.
Probably. You do have the nice note, because like earlier in the movie, the daughter was trying to like do a dance or something, like some routine, and they weren't really paying attention. And this time they're like,
yeah, and then they're dancing together.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, there's a little hope to go out on. But yeah,
I don't know. I think this is a good like little examination of almost like the human psyche, and just like a nice little look into a regular life. So
yeah,
I enjoyed it quite a bit for that.
Yeah, I thought it was all right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Because it was all women.
Yeah.
Oof.
Definitely because it was all women and not because it was all white people. No.
Oh, shit. That's why I liked it. I give this a 7.
Probably like a 5 or a 6. Somewhere in there. Well, yeah.
Let's talk about the Namesake. Calpen.
I think for the last 20 of this minutes of this movie, I was drowning in my own tears.
This is my favorite.
This, it probably should be because I cried so much during it, but I think it's like neck and neck with Mississippi Masala. Yes. I really like both of these movies.
It has that same. So I think actually this movie looks pretty good for the most part. Did you notice how sometimes it would just fucking shift the color grading, like when something bad happens, for like 5 seconds, and it would be like you wouldn't download a car. It would be like that color grading for like 5 seconds, and it would like be like slow mo almost, and then it would just cut back to normal. I think, what the hell's going on?
Some of that Indian spice.
It almost was funny, but it shouldn't have been funny.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I don't know if that was like... I don't know if it... Because also around this time, the Indian movies I have seen, they have that kind of thing. But it also feels like early 2000s, just in general, like, mainstream stuff. It felt like a Linkin Park music video for 5 seconds.
I can see that.
What's going on?
Yeah.
But, yeah, so this is about... Cal Penn is... the main character later on, he has 2 names. It's Golgo and Nikhil. Golgo after Nikolai Golgo, who was a famous author.
Yeah.
And Indians apparently have 2 names. They have like a name, a pet name, and then like a given name. But when Irfan Khan's and his wife, I know who played his wife.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but she was good.
She was really good.
God, this
Taboo. Her name's just her. Yeah, her acting name is just Taboo or Taboo. Anyway, that's a cool name.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like Indian actresses I've noticed in the like when I'm just like looking at who's playing them in these movies that just go by one title. Like the British Indian woman in this movie. That like she like smokes a cigarette. She's like really into smoking. You do not remember her? They get married.
Oh yeah.
She also goes by one name. Like as an actress, it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder. I maybe.
It doesn't seem like most of the male actors do that, so it might be a misogyny thing.
I was gonna say, yeah. I wonder if that has something to do with like marriage name crossover or something, and just like a marketing kind of thing.
I don't know. But yeah,
it's like that. I have to reference meme I saw online where it's like when Tom Holland and Zendaya get married, is he going to become Tom or is she going to become Zendaya Holland?
He's going to become Tom Coleman.
Tom Coleman?
Zendaya's last name is Coleman.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. I know that because I watched Shake It Up on the Disney Channel.
I didn't regularly watch it.
Undercover.
I didn't even realize she was in a different show on Disney.
Yep.
But
I watched like 2 episodes and I'm like, I don't like this. Because I was probably already out of the age bracket for Shake It Up.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was more or less my experience with Shake It Up. I watched like the couple episodes, I'm like, I don't like dancing. I'm getting a little too old for the Disney Channel live action shows. I was still watching.
Good Luck Charlie?
No,
Banger.
Sadly, I was watching most of like the Nick verse at that point. I think I was still...
Victorious? Banger.
I was never like... I watched Victorious, but...
I like singing.
Fair enough. I was always more of an iCarly kind of guy. Which,
I was just... in my mind, I was like, how did we get to the... How did we get to this conversation?
It's a good question.
The one word names.
Yes.
Okay. I was just like, what happened?
Anyway. All right. Yeah, back to the names.
It's so funny because if you just skip 20 seconds ahead, it's like, how the fuck are they talking about Shake It Up?
Oh, great. Now
We're
they're talking
really
about
good at
other
this.
children's shows. Okay.
So Irfan Khan and Tabu's character.
Yes.
They are in an arranged marriage and then they move to... Which seems like a big thing that they move to America. I don't...
Yeah.
He's studying to be like a doctor or something, or... and they move to America and she struggles because obviously she leaves her whole family, but they eventually have a son and they have to name him something because they're like, oh, yeah, we're waiting for our grandmother to name the kid. And they're like, oh, is she going to be here soon? They're like, she's in India. And they're like, well... you can't leave until you have a birth certificate. They're like, what? They're like, can we change it later? They're like, nope. Really hard to.
Yeah, you can, but it wouldn't be worth it.
They're like, why don't we name him Golgo? And it's like, oh, because it's brought us all together. And it's like, huh? Yeah. It's like, what do you mean? Because earlier you see him very briefly, and then you see, like, he's on a train, he's talking to someone about Golgo, and then the train starts shaking and it cuts away. So It's like, oh, there's a little turbulence on the train. It was a lot more brutal than I expected when it eventually does that.
Nah, I knew the second that train shaken, I was like, oh, this is like unbreakable, and then it was. I mean, minus the rest of the movie, but like, yeah.
So then Kal Penn. It's so funny when Kal Penn's playing like a teenager.
I know.
I think he does it like pretty well, like for doing that. But he's like, "Oh, hey, Dad, I'm Kal Penn."
Yeah, it feels almost like an SNL skit or something.
And it's so fun. Every time I watch a movie with him in this era, I'm like, he was in this movie doing this, and then 2 years later, he was working at the White House. Kal Penn worked in the Obama administration. Yeah. It's just so funny to me. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he was in the second Harold and Kumar movie during the time he was working in the White House. Because I think the second one was 2009. Or maybe the third one?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Let me check.
It might be like 2007-ish.
The second one's 2008.
Okay.
And the third one's 2011, so both of those came out during the time he was working in the White House.
Yeah. Damn.
Because I think he was working during the first term. Maybe he was working in the second. I don't know. Actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But I always think about that.
I'm afraid to look because I don't want to know what Kal Penn was up to during that.
Well, that's fair.
What was he?
I don't even remember. I keep talking about the movie. Okay. I'll figure that out.
Well, so Kal Penn is given the name, and he chooses to go by Goldo at school, which I can relate with this because my family name is TJ because my dad's name is Tom. It was just.
But you went by Thomas.
Yeah, because when I was going to like orientation for kindergarten,
you BJ.
No, they asked me if I wanted to go by Thomas or TJ, and I thought she asked me who I wanted to sit by, and my thought process was like, well, I don't want to sit by somebody who's got my name, so like I'll go by Thomas. Yeah, my whole identity is an accident, a mistake due to my own negligence as a kindergartner. But yeah.
Okay, I need to talk about Kal Penn real quick.
Okay.
So 2009. So he was in. I don't know. Have you watched House?
A little bit.
Because he's a character in that too.
Yes.
So he joined the Obama administration. This seems like when you're thinking about an administration of people that bombed a bunch of places. This seems like the best case scenario. He was the associate director in the White House Office of Public Engagement as liaison for outreach to Asian Pacific Americans and arts communities.
Okay.
This necessitated that his TV character, Lawrence Kuttner, be written out of House. But then he left his post in 2010 to film in the third installment of the Harold and Kumar series. And then he went back to the White House after that.
To be fair.
And then he left the White House again in 2011 to accept a role in How I Met Your Mother.
To be fair, movie shooting schedules are obviously less. You have to sign your life to this, and
yeah.
We're going to shoot for 6 weeks or whatever.
This you got to shoot for the next 6 months or whatever.
Especially because that was back when TV was in for syndication.
Yeah.
So it's oh geez. All right, time to film our 45-minute episodes for 22 episode seasons, maybe 27 episode seasons.
But yeah, so he's playing a teenager in this, and he's going by Golgo, but then when he is about to go to college, he's like, I don't think I want to go by Golgo anymore.
Because kids make fun of him at school.
Kids make fun of him at school. His sister calls him Goggles, which is cute. It's a cute little nickname.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's probably not fun for him at that time, but
probably.
By the end of it, he's just hey. She still calls him Goggles.
Yeah. Say love you.
But his parents still call him Golgo.
Yeah, his father especially, too. His, he cringes every time his father calls him it.
Why am I saying Golgo? Gogol. Sorry.
Gogol.
Okay. Gogol. That's why it's goggles. I'm like, Golgo? That's not right. Gogol. Gogol. And then he really starts being almost Americanized. Obviously, he's already an American because he's a second-generation immigrant.
Yeah. There is one scene where he's talking with his friends while he's, like, smoking weed. Where he does, like, the hyper-American, like, accent while he's chilling with them. Which I think is a good scene because, obviously, it kind of shows that, like, you can have these, like, different... Especially if you come from, like, a cultural family. Like, I know I have people who, like... are like Mexican who do that, and it's like, and it's like they do have those like kind of different, not that they're like
switching,
and it's not like they're like faking or pretending.
Neither are like disingenuous. It's just like I think it's a natural thing that comes from multicultural things.
But yeah, I just thought that scene was really funny with the combination of him like smoking weed, long hair. He was just doing the Kumar voice, and I was like, yep. Because it's not that he doesn't speak with, like, an American accent through the rest of the movie. Like, he does.
But this one's, like, super...
It's just, like, it's more, like, stoner bra kind of accent. As opposed to throughout the rest of the movie. It's just more, I guess, standard. But, yeah. So, he graduates. He's going to Yale?
Yale, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to like 4 years later or something.
Yeah, he's super successful. He's got like a white girlfriend. And, you know, he goes and spends time with their family and they're like super inclusive or whatever. But he's been, you know, realizes the culture shock would probably not be super great for the relationship. And on either side, you know, because he doesn't want to upset his parents. Even though he claims he doesn't care what they think. And also, just like, I think he realizes his girlfriend might not be respectful enough of, like, boundaries. Because he tells her before, it's like, no affection. Like, that's not really something that, like,
and then Jimmy, like, kisses his dad. Or his dad.
Both of them. And is, like, trying to hold his hand and stuff. And he's like, no. And it's like, and it's one of those things where it's like you kind of feel for both sides. It's like, I get it, but...
And then...
Yeah, it just seems like a messy situation.
But they're still, like, together. It just seems a little rocky.
Yeah. Like, obviously, they
oh my god!
Oh, Gesundheit.
I'm dying!
But yeah, it's not until later when it's like, oh, yeah, you're... I mean... Maybe not full-blown evil, but you're certainly just very unapathetic right now. But
because the next scene, they're, like, together, and his dad takes him on a drive.
Yeah, which, when he was a teenager, he gave him a book.
By Gogol.
And he's like, you know why, like, we named, like, why I named you?
And he's like, yeah,
because you're your favorite author.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, well, there's another reason. He's like, what is it? And he's like, no, nothing. That's the only reason. Like, he doesn't feel like he wants to tell him yet. Feels like there's something, but...
Yeah, because...
Scalpen's like, hey!
Super aggressive. He doesn't even turn his, like, stereo down when he's, like, father's giving him the book. So he's like...
Yeah, he's like...
Yeah, you're not ready for this story yet. You're, not emotionally mature enough. And... so that book just kind of stays down in that room, collecting dust for all this time, but they have a conversation in the car later where he does tell him the story about the train. And basically, like, you know, it's like, hey, man, like, I was in this train accident while I was reading Gogol.
You're so good with names, Thomas.
I'm the best at them. You know, every time I say a name, that should just become the automatic pronunciation.
Every time you say a name, it's somehow just slightly off. But in, like, a new way.
Sometimes it's on purpose, sometimes it's not. It's just, well, I don't know how my brain works. Huh? Landon? Yeah, so he's like, tells him the story. He was the only person who survived the train crash. And
he was holding the pages of Gogol still.
Yeah, and
Calpen's like, is that what you think about every time you see me?
He's like, no, everything that came after.
Yeah, that made me cry.
Yeah,
like, you're like, I was on the verge of tears. I'm like, oh my god.
How everything after has just been a gift, you know?
Yeah, it's just really sweet. And Irfan Khan was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, And then, like, the next thing he dies.
Yeah, well, not quite.
This is the last time he talks to him, pretty much.
To Calpen. You get some stuff between him and his wife, because he's like, I'm going to go to America.
Well, they're already in America. He's going to Ohio. Which is like America, because it is America. You're correct. He does go to America, just a different part.
They bounce back and forth throughout the movie. I mean, not him, but the other characters, so forgive me. But yeah, he's leaving his wife, and he's like, you want to come with me? And there's this cute little scene in the airport where he's waiting in line. He's like, come on. And she's like... But yeah, he goes, and then he's like just living in a sad, barren little apartment. He's got a picture of his family up on the fridge. They're all kind of gone their separate ways. Calpen
is on vacation with his girlfriend's family.
And yeah, there's obvious kind of hurt feelings there, because it's like, he's going on vacation with his girlfriend's family, but barely makes time for his own at this point. His sister's off trying to find a boyfriend, I think, at this point or something. I don't remember. But she's not home. She's like at college or something.
Yeah, I think she had just gone off to college.
Yeah, so the family's all split apart. And then, he calls his wife from the hospital and says, hey, I'm just...
I have a tummy ache.
Yeah, a little dizzy spell, nothing major. I'll call you when I get home. And then she has to call the hospital later, and it's like...
He died.
Yeah. Oh, we've been trying to contact you. Yeah, he passed away like at 1 p.m. this afternoon or whatever. Yeah. And that broke me, especially because we got the context about her character is like she came over, like family is super important to her, but she like was kind of like on the rocks about like leaving her family in India, and then shortly after she moved over, like she received news that her father died, like not over the phone directly, but more or less over the phone, because her husband received it from like a call from her brother, who was basically like, I can't tell her, you tell her. Like, and that was hard for her, but she built this new family up in America, and now it's like
they're all leaving.
They're all,
and then he's but at least she still had him, and then now nope.
Yep. And it's super sad, and it made me cry. And there's that one scene where she's talking to her like nice coworker who's like her therapist. Yeah. And she's like, I think he left and was kind of like preparing me to live alone.
Yeah. I was like, oh.
It's like, oh gosh, why did you have to like go and hide away and die? Why would you do that? But yeah, it's just like, oof.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Calpen, he receives this news.
Yeah, after not being available, and like she tried to call him, and then he got a call from his sister while she's there. He's like, oh, it's your sister now. He's like, hey, what's up? And she's like, oh, Dad died. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So he leaves, and like shaves his head and what I assume is some sort of ritualistic.
Yeah, it seems like
kind of funeral type thing.
And his mom's like, you didn't have to do this. And he's like, I did. It's like, I needed to do it for myself.
I wanted to, and then his like girlfriend shows up to the wake and is like, when are you coming back home? Like,
she's like, maybe we should still take that vacation.
It's like, has a line where it's like, you can't stay with your mother forever. And he's just like,
it's been like 2 weeks. It's like,
it's like, all right. So they're like on the rocks at that point, but they basically like break up off screen. And then he starts seeing a different girl who he had been introduced to years and years ago.
As like an almost arranged marriage thing.
Yeah.
Who was all like, she was like this nerdy little like bookworm before. She's like this sexy lady. And he's like, how'd you get so sexy? She said, Paris. And she takes a smoke, and I'm like, what the fuck? I've been to Paris. There's a lot of uggos there.
Look at you.
Yeah,
there you go.
Let me pull out my cigarette pack.
Yeah.
I should be smoking on this show.
You get a fake cigarette.
Get a big pipe.
Yeah, there you go. Like Garfield. But, yeah, anyway. But yeah.
But they eventually get married.
And she cheats on him.
He's like, I didn't want to be part of... I didn't want... This is the scene that I remember, the, like, color grading changing. Because they have a big fight at the air. She's like, they're just talking, and she's like, oh, we should go here. Pierre talks about it all the time. Pierre. And he's like, who the hell is Pierre?
Yeah.
And she's like... And then she just stops talking. Instead of being like, oh, he's a friend.
Yeah,
she's just like...
right.
And he's like, are you seeing someone else? And she's like...
Yeah,
he's like, are you? She's like, yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
and then they break it off pretty much. But as he leaves the train station, he opens the door and the color grading shifts for like 3 seconds. So I'm like, what the hell's going on?
His world.
And then it cuts away.
Yeah. And then
because they were on their way to go see his mother.
Yeah.
And he shows up. Because it was a Christmas party because she had decided to go back to India.
And then she's like, where's your wife? And he's like, this is what happened. And she's like, I can't go to India. And he's like, no, like, actually, this is kind of like a blessing, or a blessing in disguise kind of a thing.
I know it's sad to say, but this is the first time I felt free, maybe ever.
Yeah.
It's really sad. But
it's sad, but it's like, human. Yeah. It's real, you know? And not saying, like, he's not planning to ever see his mom again. I'm sure he'll probably go visit India.
And it seems like, you know, and it's unfortunate, but we don't. He was at a time when you don't care about family. Like, that's just what happens as you grow older. You just don't care for a while, and then it comes back.
Yeah,
you know, it comes in waves. Like you live with these people for 20 years or like 18 years. Of course, you're going to be like, I'm sick of these guys, and then it comes back. And obviously, he misses his father. That's obvious. And he finds that Gogol book.
It's a little note
with a note, and it's really sad.
Yeah. Like I said, I was a mess for the last, like, 20 minutes of this movie. I was just crying. Like, oh, God.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this is a fucking great one.
Yeah, I loved this one. I really, really liked it. I think Kal Penn's really good. I think the mom, Tabu, is really good. I think everyone's pretty, like, really good. I think Irfan Khan is incredible.
Yeah, I want to watch... I know I've seen him in other stuff.
He plays the older version of Pi. Okay, if you've not seen... That's pretty good. Yeah. He's in some other stuff. He's in, like, I think, Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay. I feel like I've seen him in, like, a comedy or something, maybe.
Maybe.
I need
he was in a bunch. He, unfortunately, also passed away a couple...
What?
Yeah, he was, like... I think he died at 45 in this movie, and I think he died at, like, 50 in real life. He died in 2020. I remember when that happened, because it was, like... I watched Life of Pi like right after, or I had watched it like right before or something like that. But yeah, he passed away, and he was incredible. Yeah. I watched it was probably around that same time I wanted to watch more of his stuff, and there was like a procedural like detective story he was in. I think it was called like Talvar that I really enjoyed. So if you want to watch more of his stuff, I think he's really good in that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to add that to the list.
Yeah, he's great. That's one of those actors I'm like, man, we are going to miss him. Just for... Yeah. He's so good in this. And I assume even in the bad things he's in, it seems like he gives his all.
Yeah.
Did you notice he's in Salaam Bombay? He's the letter writer.
Oh, yeah, I did.
He's just really young in that movie.
Yeah.
He's like 21 in that.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Oh, and he's in Slumdog Millionaire.
Okay, that might have been what I recognized him from, actually. Maybe.
Oh,
I still feel like I've seen him in a comedy somewhere, but I might.
One of the, when we were talking about things to watch for the next podcast, when I talked about that one guy's trilogy of, like, Shakespeare adaptations, he's in 2 of those 3.
Oh, shit. Okay. Have to keep that in mind for the future.
Yeah. I think he's, like, one of the main characters in one of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's, they do, I think it's Macbeth, Hamlet, and Othello are the 3. Mm-hmm. And he's, pretty much the main character of the Macbeth one.
Oh, okay.
Which is, like, I think called, like, Magpool or something like that. But, yeah, I would probably give this movie a 9.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
This is probably, if I were to rewatch one, this is probably the one I would want to rewatch first. And then Mississippi Masala.
I might go with Mississippi just because
it's a little heavier.
It's a little heavier. I don't know if I'm always in the mood to cry if I want to rewatch a movie. But yeah, it would probably get me again.
If I rewatched it, I would want to show it to someone. And I think I would want to show this over Mississippi Masala just because like Hinata, I think, would probably like this one more.
Maybe. It's sadder.
Yeah. But, all right. Let's talk about the last one we're talking about today, which is Queen of Katwe. Yeah. Which is the first one I watched.
Okay. So, it was the last one I watched. Okay.
Yeah. So this one is based on a true story about, what is her name?
Fiona?
Fiona, but with a PH.
Yeah.
So Fiona, she is a little girl in Uganda. Very poor family. None of them are like formally educated.
Yeah.
Her father is not in the picture. I think he passed away.
Yeah.
And she sells maize every day to just live. And her mom's there and supports her, but she's also very poor.
Yeah. Very hard-boiled woman.
There's also... I need to figure out what his name is, because I see that actor all the time.
Oh, the coach?
Yeah. There's a coach who is part of a, like, church who does kind of outreach, and he coaches soccer, but there's a bunch of kids who's like, I can't play football. Soccer.
They're like, put me on the field, coach. He's like, no.
Well, also there's a kid who's like, you want to play? And he's like, no, my mom said my foot will be broken or something like that. Yeah. He's like, well, there's games you can play, sports you can play that don't involve that. And they're like, what? They're like, let me tell you about the Game of Kings. He talks about chess, and he talks about, you want to beat up rich people, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
He talks about how he would hustle chess to beat, like, rich kids.
Yeah. Make his college tuition. Or...
David Oyelowo.
Yeah.
He's in a bunch of stuff. He's in, like, Interstellar and The Help and Lincoln and Selma, stuff like that. Queen of Katwe. Peter Rabbit 2.
They made a second Peter Rabbit movie?
They did.
Jeez.
I think the first one came out when we were at the theater.
It did, yeah. I remember seeing bits and pieces of that.
And you're like, this is an excellent film.
Being like, ugh, James Corbin.
Oh, this is an excellent movie.
Yeah.
Huh.
But, yeah.
So he starts coaching some people at chess, and then Fiona sees her, like, brother go to the chess club, and she's like, where are you going? And she follows him, and then starts playing chess, and gets really good, because she's just, like, really intuitive at things. And he's like, how did you know that move? And she's like, have you been reading my books? She's like, I don't know how to read. He's like, you just thought of this? And she's like, yeah. So she's, like, playing very well. So then he starts... her mom comes up, and she's like, oh, you're playing gambling games! You're trying to take all our money, and he, like, tries to explain it, and he eventually gets through to her.
Yeah.
Because, like, she is a good mom. She is trying. She's not, like, she's just undereducated. Yeah, she doesn't understand the concept. Like, not everyone knows what chess is, obviously, especially in, like, countries like Uganda and stuff where it's just not as popular.
Especially, it's considering it's not very practical in most cases there, I assume. I mean, obviously, it gives the opportunity as the movie shows, but even then, it's like, I mean, chess is a very elitist sport. Shocker. I mean, just even before this movie, just reading, like, last week an article about, it's like the #1 chess player, like that
Magnus Carlsen,
yeah. I don't know where I was getting chased.
He's the bad boy of chess.
Yeah, he got, like, rejected from a tournament because he, like, showed up and was wearing jeans, and they're like, you can't wear jeans.
He's like, I'm Magnus Carlsen. Which, like, he is a dickhead. Like, Magnus Carlsen, he just shows up. He's rude to his opponent. He shows up late all the time. Yeah. But at the same time, like, it's also funny, because I'm like, you're being rude to chess players. Why do I give a fuck?
Yeah. No, exactly. But, I don't know. Personally, I think, like, it's like that sort of thing where it's like, no, you have to show up wearing, like, a suit and tie. Bullshit. You're just afraid of the commoners kicking your ass at your elitist sport.
It's even in this, it's like, we can't let poor people come to the school. Yeah. They're not part of the school.
Yeah, they try to throw every excuse they can.
So the coach is like, okay, I'm going to raise the money for them. So he starts like playing soccer for like teams that will pay him because he's like really good, even though he like hurt his leg and his wife's like mad at him. He's like, stop doing that. You hurt your leg. You're going to hurt it more. He's like, I have to. I got to reach these kids.
Yeah. All of this is happening while he's got like potentially a big job on the back burner. But so at some point he'll be forced to choose between, you know, the positive job and the positive job of teaching the pioneers how to play chess, or the actual
positive
job
financial job. Yeah.
Which plot twist.
He chooses the kids.
Yeah, he chooses the kids, and his wife is A-okay with that. It's almost like she had been kind of pushing him in that direction earlier in the movie. But
yeah, then they just start going to tournaments, and she just starts winning, and she just wins everything. She loses like one game, and she's like, I can't fucking do this anymore. And it's like, you just played bad. Stop it. And then she's like, oh, okay. And then she just wins everything.
Yeah, I think they definitely, I mean, I don't know how closely the based on a true story is here. To be honest, I didn't even realize it was based on a true story until the credits, when I was like, here are the people. I was like, oh.
And it's also like, it was like 8 years ago or 10 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I think the book came out like 2014 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
The movie came out like 2 years later.
But, sorry, I forgot that yawn took the point right out of my mouth. Where was I?
I don't know.
Okay, never mind.
But yeah, she pretty much just wins everything, and she's like, Mom, I'm going to buy you a house. And her mom's really struggling because she's raising other kids too. There's a plot point where her brother gets hit by a bike at one point. And
then
they have to run out of the hospital.
My jaw dropped. I was not expecting that.
He started running out of the road, and I was thinking, what if he just got hit by a car? And then he got hit by a motorcycle. I'm like, did I do that?
Manifested it.
Yeah.
But
and then she also has like an older sister who is seeing a much older man.
She
gets like pregnant, and then he leaves her because he got tired of her. And her mom's the whole time like, don't do this. He's just going to leave you once he gets tired of you. And then that happens.
Yeah.
She has a cool name. It's Night. I'm like, that's a cool name.
Yeah, and then she ends up like leaving again during like a storm and
a monsoon.
Leaving one of the siblings there, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But basically, it's just kind of is your standard like feel good sports movie. I think the things that really prop this movie up are obviously the kind of like cultural, like just these downtrodden people, being given an opportunity. And one thing I wish that the movie would have emphasized a little more is like they're constantly being like, chess is your opportunity.
Yeah.
But I wish that they would maybe like make it more apparent to her that it's like, like chess is your opportunity. And they do touch on it like a little bit, like, but like it's also like, but chess is like kind of just like a metaphorical board for like life, and they get into it and like, but like I feel like
they do like one scene where it's like, this is we can hit the king, we can become a queen, it's like they talk about it and then they don't do anything with that metaphor later on.
And
it's like touched upon.
They keep teetering on it. Like there's like the scene where she does kind of like rebuttal against that because they talk about like, how are you supposed to prepare when you don't have like roofs and it's like the monsoon happens. And it's like I get that. Like obviously there are some things that you can't always strategize your way out of, sort of the thing, no matter how much you're trying to think ahead or whatever. Although
some of the metaphors in the movies just don't work for me. I think that's why this is my least favorite of the movies, just because like, I don't know. It's just, I think it's fine. But I think, like, some of the metaphors don't work. And I also think that this felt the longest to me. I think it's not. I think it's like an hour and 50 minutes. But it just...
Yeah.
I think that it falls into this trap where it goes game, trauma. And it just makes it feel a little less impactful, I guess, because it just gets into almost a routine where I'm just like, well, I know what's going to happen. I know. I also feel like the stuff with her sister doesn't really amount to anything.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing.
Like, she shows up at the end, she's like, I bought you a house, and there's your daughter with her baby. And it's like,
yeah, like,
okay.
I think the only point where maybe it felt like any sort of necessary was like where they could have maybe built something more up from it would have been like the sister, like when she gave the money that ended up helping them out a little bit. Mm-hmm. But like, I don't know. I also don't know how much of this, like I said, is like exactly true. I assume, I don't know. I like to give Mira, good job. Okay. Mira more credit than thinking like it's like, she'll just like doctor up a bunch of shit.
I will say Mira doesn't write any of her own movies.
Oh, okay.
I think there's a writer she's worked with quite a bit who wrote like 3 of the movies we watched.
Okay. Okay, that kind of explains a little more. I didn't look at the writing credits for any of them, but
Suni Taraporevala wrote Mississippi, Masala, Namesake, and Salaam Bombay.
Oh, the three best ones.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at more of his her screenwriting.
Wow, just assume. Just fucking with.
Fair enough. True.
But and then this is based on a book that's like a biography. So
yeah, I saw the Namesake was also based on a book as well.
Yeah, and also I think the book is in this movie. Like you see a poster for it. It's like that's not really? The old landlord sees it that like kicked them out and was like, is that the chess girl or someone?
Yeah, but
yeah, I think the book would just work better for me.
Probably.
I think the rhythm of what they're trying to do just works better in a literary form. I think. I don't think this movie's bad. I think I like Lupita a lot, and I think she's good in this. Yeah, I think the person who plays Fiona's good, and I think David's good in this. Yeah,
it's a decent watch. Like I said, kind of like typical feel-good sports movie with some good social undercurrent, but a little messy on the delivery. There are a lot of like little moments I like throughout. Like I like the cat dog analogy where it's like, the cat, the dog. Yesterday I came across a skinny dog chasing a cat through all over the house, and it's like, why? Eventually he gave up, and it's like, well, you let your dinner get away, and it's because he was running for his dinner. Cat was running for his life.
And like those people, they're the dog. You're the cat.
Yeah,
you're fighting for your life.
And also, the other point that I really liked was when they're talking about like, kind of the ethical potential fallout of like the coach's actions and like building Fiona up, because like, there's a more than likely chance that she's not gonna be like able to climb her way out of like poverty, and like then she'll feel like she's just kind of in between the two worlds and doesn't really belong to either. Yeah, which I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's a pretty salient point. I mean, obviously it's sad and it's defeatist and it keeps people in their place kind of a mentality, which is sad, but I'd be lying if there's not some gray area of truth in that. And it's like, damn, I wasn't expecting that to pop up. Like, yeah, there are moments that I think, but in the general, I just think this is pretty middle of the road. Yeah. Kind of sports biopic. Yeah, I feel it. Which is unfortunate because I like, as much as I don't really care about sports, I like sports biopics. Like, in general, I like the idea of them. And I like chess movies for the most part, even if I don't really care about chess. To be honest, I don't think I've watched a whole lot. I think it's like this and The Seventh Seal off the top of my head. You should watch Pawn Sacrifice with Tobey Maguire. If I had to watch one other one off the top of my head, it would be that one for sure. He really goes, he's sicko mode in that one. Yeah. Because he plays Bobby Fischer, who is crazy. Yeah, I know chess, but like I don't really know much outside of just the chess guy. Yeah, but Bobby Fischer was the chess guy before
Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah.
And he's like, the Russians are watching me at every moment. They're right there.
Ooh.
I was like, I'm racist.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd probably give this movie a 5.
Yeah, I'm probably there with you. Maybe a 6 on a good day. Because it works.
Yeah. I watched this and I was a little worried. I'm like, are these movies all gonna like kind of not connect with me? But then everything else connected with me. So.
Okay. Yeah, I had kind of because I didn't really connect too much with hysterically blind.
Hysterical blindness.
Hysterical blindness. And then it was all uphill from there. So I was like, okay, sweet. But yeah, so that was it, everyone. That was Mira Nair. Mira Nair.
Good job.
Yeah, I got that last name down.
Yep.
That first name needs a little practice, though.
All right. We got questions.
Oh, yeah.
From Pierre.
Yeah.
Question.
Oh, gosh.
Question 1.
Okay.
Have you heard of the soup that makes you blind for one day?
No. Was that the extent of the question? Is there a follow-up to that?
That's the extent of question 1.
Okay.
I've never heard of this. Question 2. Would you eat the soup that makes you blind for one day?
Probably not. It doesn't sound like it would offer me anything. In fact, it sounds like it would probably take away at least a day's worth of activities for me. 'Cause I can't imagine if I didn't have sight, I would want to do anything aside from maybe lay in bed and die until I get my sight back.
I think that maybe if I was guaranteed that I would get it back, I might try it. Because I might... Obviously, it's a condition that most people do not have. So I guess it would help to further empathize with blind people if I could have experienced it for a day, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same. If I just close my eyes, I can still see. I can still, see lights and stuff.
And that's why you gotta get a blindfold and put it around your eyes. And then...
But then I can still see the inside of my eyelids.
That's... maybe?
I don't know. I think that blindness probably does feel different.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure it's probably a more intense darkness that you have no sort of...
So, I might.
Yeah, okay.
Question 3. Good soup?
I don't know. I imagine not, seeing as it's...
Good soup.
Makes you blind.
What's your favorite type of soup? That's my question.
My favorite type... I like a good potato and ham soup.
Potato and what?
Ham.
Potato and ham soup?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
What kind of ham? Little, cubes of ham?
Just little chunks of ham. Yeah. None too grand. They could be cubes. They could just be chunks.
Where do you make this? Potato and ham soup?
People make this.
Who?
It's like a fucking soup recipe. I don't know.
Potato and ham soup.
Yeah, look it up. It's real. It exists.
What the fuck?
I know. What a world. What are they gonna do next? Split pea soup? I mean, come on.
You're pissing in soup now?
You're splitting peas in a soup? How does that work?
I don't know. Do you like split pea soup?
Not really, actually, no.
I don't know if I've ever had split pea soup.
I like peas. I don't like split pea soup.
I like a good clam chowder.
Clam chowder. Not bad.
I like a nice, on a sick day, chicken noodle. But when it's not a sick day, I'm just like, this is kind of bland.
I like chicken noodles.
I like a nice tomato if I have a grilled cheese to dip it in, of course.
Of course.
Soups are good. I like soups.
Yes.
Never heard of potato and ham soup? What the fuck?
Not my fault you're uncultured.
Potato and ham?
Yeah.
You're making all those Google results I just saw. You made them.
Yeah. I created an AI to upload a billion versions of that recipe on various websites, and I made sure to incorporate Python features so it would go back in time and do that as well. So.
True.
Is that what that theory is? I think that's the name of it. Python? Or Anaconda?
What?
It's like a fucking... It's stupid. It's like a theory that AI eventually becomes so advanced that it'll be able to time travel back to ensure that it's created. And it's like Python theory or something, because it's like the snake eating itself. I don't know. It's like an AI theory, but it's obviously cuckoo bananas, you know? Anyway.
Anyway, next week, I've decided we're going to watch the Polish television miniseries called Decalogue. It is 10 episodes, focuses on the residents of a housing complex in late communist Poland. 10-hour-long movies, drawing from the Ten Commandments for thematic inspiration and an overarching structure. It is by Krzysztof Kieslowski.
Okay. I will not be pronouncing that on next week's episode.
Which is a director I've wanted to cover for a long time. Because even outside of Decalogue, that's the director that did the Three Colors trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Which I've also wanted to watch.
Yeah.
And then one of his features, I think it was maybe a short film about killing or a short film about love. One of his other features is like a feature-length version of one of the Decalogue episodes, if I remember correctly.
Huh. Okay.
So, but yeah, I'm very excited. I've been wanting to watch these for a very long time. So.
Yeah, I remember you. I think I remember you mentioning it on like one of the old episodes of the podcast. So, and
it's just never happened, but it's happening now.
Yeah.
So
look at us.
Tune in next time for Decalogue.
Yes.
Also, I don't think we've covered any Polish media.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I can't think of anything.
This might be new territory for us. All right, well, join us as we
scary even
kickstart our Polish era.
Yeah. Whoa! All right, see you all next time. Toodaloo.